I still remember that morning as if it happened yesterday. It was the day I realized that my broken English was holding me back from everything I wanted in life. It was a sunny Monday in Karachi. I had gone to a job interview at a small company. I had studied hard, I had experience, I had confidence, at least until I opened my mouth. The interviewer asked me a simple question in English. So, tell me about yourself. I froze. My mind went blank. My tongue felt heavy. I wanted to speak. I knew the words in my language, but when I tried to say them in English, everything came out wrong. Sir, I am, good job person. The man gave me a polite smile, but I could see the disappointment in his eyes. The interview lasted only 5 minutes. I walked out with a fake smile, but inside I was breaking. That was the moment I decided. Enough was enough. I had failed many times before, but this time I promised myself, I will learn English in 5 months, no matter what it takes. At first, my biggest problem was not grammar or vocabulary, it was fear. Every time I tried to speak English, my heart raced. I was afraid people would laugh at my accent. And yes, sometimes they did. My friends teased me, saying, "Why are you speaking English like a robot?" I laughed with them, but every joke hurt a little more inside. I avoided speaking. I avoided situations where I had to use English. I even stopped watching English movies because I felt too stupid to understand them. But one night, I was scrolling through YouTube, and I found a video titled, "How I Learned English in 6 Months, My Real Story." It wasn't from a teacher, it was from a regular person. He talked about learning English by watching English shows every day, repeating lines, and speaking out loud, even when alone. That video changed something inside me. I thought, if he can do it, why can't I? The next morning, I wrote something bold on a white sheet of paper. I will learn English fluently in 5 months. I stuck it on my wall. It became my daily reminder. Then I built a plan, simple but powerful. I divided my 5-month journey into 5 stages. Month 1, listening and observation. Month 2, vocabulary and confidence. Month 3, speaking practice. Month 4, real conversations. Month 5, fluency and expression. No expensive courses, no magic tricks, just discipline and daily effort. In the first month, I didn't speak much. I just listened. Every single day, I spent 3 to 4 hours listening to English content. I started with cartoons and graded readers, simple stories with subtitles. Then I moved to YouTube videos, TED Talks, and English podcasts. At first, I understood only 30%, but I forced myself to keep going. I noticed patterns, how people use small words like, actually, I mean. I repeated them again and again. I wasn't learning grammar. I was learning rhythm. The sound of English started to live in my head. And slowly, my fear started to fade. This month was all about building a relationship with words. I made a rule. Learn 10 new words every day, not from a list, but from real content. If I heard a word in a video and didn't know it, I paused and searched it. Then I wrote it in a notebook. Word, meaning, example sentence, my sentence. For example, confident, sure about yourself. Example, she spoke confidently. My sentence, I want to speak English confidently. By the end of the month, I had 300 new words in my notebook. But more importantly, I had confidence. I began to speak small sentences out loud. I am improving. I can do this. English is my friend. It might sound silly, but talking to myself in English helped me build mental courage. This was the hardest part. I knew the words, but when I tried to speak, I still hesitated. So, I joined an online English speaking group. At first, my hands trembled before speaking. People from India, Egypt, and Brazil were speaking confidently, and I felt like the weakest one. But I kept reminding myself, I'm not competing with them. I'm competing with the old me. Every day, I practiced small conversations. I recorded my voice, listened back, and noticed my mistakes. At first, I hated my accent, but then I realized accent doesn't matter, clarity does. And slowly, speaking became less scary. One evening, after 3 months of consistent practice, something magical happened. I was helping a tourist in my city who was lost. He asked, "Hey, can you tell me where the museum is?" And without thinking, I replied, "Yeah, sure. Just walk straight and turn left at the second signal." You'll see it on your right." He thanked me and walked away, but I stood frozen, smiling. Because for the first time, I had spoken fluent English without fear. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. It was me speaking English, not thinking, not hesitating, just communicating. That moment made me realize fluency is not about knowing everything. It's about being brave enough to speak anyway. After that day, I celebrated every small victory. I could understand English movies without subtitles. I could chat with foreigners online. I could even dream in English sometimes. My journey was far from over, but now I had something stronger than motivation. I had belief. The boy who once froze in interviews was now starting to express himself confidently in another language. I wasn't fluent yet, but I was unstoppable. And that's where my real transformation began. The first 3 months had tested every part of me. There were days I woke up full of energy and days I stared at my notebook wondering, am I wasting my time? I had improved, yes, but I still wasn't fluent. I could understand English videos better, but when I tried to speak naturally, I still made mistakes. Sometimes I forgot words mid-sentence. Sometimes my pronunciation felt awkward. It was frustrating. One night, sitting in my small room, surrounded by books and sticky notes, I whispered to myself, maybe I'm not good enough. Then I looked up at the white paper on my wall, the one that said, I will learn English fluently in 5 months. And I remembered why I started. The 4th month began with self-doubt. I was doing everything right, listening, writing, speaking, but progress felt invisible. People around me didn't take me seriously anymore. My cousin said, 5 months? You can't even learn English in 5 years. That comment burned like fire in my chest. But instead of quitting, I decided to change my strategy. I realized that learning English was not just about studying. It was about living the language. So I made a radical decision. From that day, I would live every hour in English. I switched my phone language to English. I changed my social media settings. I stopped consuming content in my native language entirely. I started thinking in English. When I woke up, instead of saying "jo," I said "get up." When I made tea, I said, "I'm boiling water." When I went outside, I described what I saw in English inside my head. It felt strange at first, like my brain was fighting me. But after a week, English started to feel natural. Every small action became practice. Every moment became a classroom. That's when real change began. One evening, I came across a video titled, "The Secret Technique That Made Me Fluent, Shadowing." It sounded mysterious, but when I watched it, everything clicked. The idea was simple: imitate native speakers in real time. Listen to a line, pause, and repeat it exactly. Tone, speed, and rhythm. So I picked my favorite show, Friends. I played an episode and started shadowing Rachel and Joey. At first, it was chaos. I was speaking too fast, tripping over words, laughing at my own mistakes. But it was fun, and for the first time, I was feeling the language. I did this every day for 2 weeks, and soon, my tongue started to move more freely. My pronunciation improved naturally, without memorizing phonetic rules. It was like music practice, and English was my new instrument. Around the same time, I started keeping a daily English journal. Every night before sleeping, I wrote 1 page about my day in English. At first, it was simple. Today, I woke up late. I was tired. I studied English for 2 hours. But later, my writing became deeper. Today, I realized that confidence is not about perfection. It's about accepting mistakes and still moving forward. This small habit transformed everything. Writing forced me to organize my thoughts in English. It helped me discover my personal voice, something no textbook could teach. And as my writing improved, so did my speaking. I started expressing complex ideas more smoothly, more naturally. The language was no longer something I was learning. It was becoming part of who I was. One of the hardest things was finding someone to practice with regularly. Then, one evening, I joined a Facebook group called English Learners Worldwide. There, I met Maria, a learner from the Philippines. She was just like me, determined, nervous, but full of hope. We decided to become English buddies. Every day, we did a 30-minute call. At first, it was awkward. We made grammar mistakes, laughed nervously, and sometimes sat in silence, searching for words. But day by day, our confidence grew. We made rules. Speak only English, no matter what. Correct each other kindly. Encourage, never judge. Those conversations became the highlight of my day. Through them, I learned something no course could teach: connection through language. I realized that English wasn't just a skill. It was a bridge connecting two people from different worlds. By the end of the 4th month, I felt ready to test myself. So, I decided to do something terrifying. I recorded a short video in English and posted it on YouTube. It was titled, "My English Practice, Day 120. I was shaking as I hit upload. My voice wasn't perfect. My accent was still heavy. But I was proud because it was me speaking confidently in public. At first, only a few people watched. But then, comments started to come. "Your English is great. Keep going. I can feel your passion, bro. I'm learning too. Let's grow together." That day, I learned a new word: empowerment. Because every supportive comment gave me more courage to keep pushing. 2 weeks later, I had a life-changing experience. Maria and I were practicing when she said, "Let's try something different today, a debate." She picked the topic: "Is technology making us lazy?" At first, I panicked. Debating in English? That sounded impossible. But she smiled and said, "Don't worry. Just speak from your heart." So I did. I started expressing my ideas. I wasn't translating from my native language anymore. I was thinking directly in English. Words flowed naturally. My hands moved as I spoke. I felt alive. After we finished, there was silence. Then Maria said softly, "You sounded fluent." I didn't believe her at first. But when I listened to the recording later, I realized she was right. My pauses were gone. My rhythm was smooth. My voice was confident. That was the moment I knew I had broken through the wall. But not everything was perfect. Just a week later, I had another job interview, this time fully in English. I walked in feeling confident. But during one question, I misunderstood a word. I answered something completely wrong, and the interviewer looked confused. I felt embarrassed. For a moment, all my old fears came back. I thought, maybe I'm still not ready. But then I reminded myself, failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. I didn't run away this time. After the interview, I wrote down every mistake I made. I studied those areas and practiced again. 2 weeks later, I had another interview, and that one changed everything. It was a position at an international company. This time, I walked in smiling, calm, confident. The manager asked, "So, tell me about your journey of learning English." And I told him everything: the fear, the struggle, the commitment, the 5-month plan. He listened with genuine interest. When I finished, he said, "You've got strong communication skills. Welcome to the team." I couldn't believe it. I had done it. All those nights of practice, all the mock conversations, all the mistakes, they had finally paid off. I walked out of that building with tears in my eyes. 5 months ago, I couldn't even complete one sentence. Now, I had just secured my first English-speaking job. That was the breakthrough I had dreamed of. What I learned, that experience taught me more than English. It taught me discipline, patience, and resilience. I learned that fluency is not about speaking fast. It's about communicating clearly. It's not about knowing every grammar rule. It's about being brave enough to use what you know. And most importantly, it's not about perfection. It's about progress. Every mistake I made was a lesson. Every small step I took was a victory. Every fear I faced built my confidence. English had changed my life, not because it gave me a job, but because it gave me a new version of myself. When I look back now, it feels like I've lived 2 different lives. One belonged to the shy boy who couldn't say a full sentence in English. The other belongs to the confident person who now helps others find their voice. The difference between those 2 people isn't luck. It's choice, discipline, and belief. That's what these 5 months taught me, and that's what truly changed my life. The morning I joined the new company, I was nervous again, but this time it was different. It wasn't the kind of fear that stops you. It was the kind that pushes you forward. When I entered the office, I was greeted by people from different countries. They all spoke English fast, confidently, naturally. A year ago, that would have terrified me. But that day I smiled and said, "Hi everyone. It's great to finally meet you all." The words flowed smoothly. No hesitation, no fear. As I sat at my desk, I realized that my 5-month journey had prepared me not only to speak English, but to live in English. A week later, my manager asked me to give a short presentation. Topic: How to improve customer communication. At first, my hands trembled again. I remember my last public speaking attempt, the one that had gone horribly wrong. But this time, I took a deep breath and smiled. I reminded myself of all those hours I had practiced shadowing, writing, and speaking. When I stepped up to the stage, I didn't see it as a test. I saw it as an opportunity. I began with a story. 5 months ago, I couldn't even introduce myself in English. Today, I'm standing here speaking to all of you. Everyone laughed and clapped. As I spoke, I noticed something beautiful. People were listening, not to my grammar or accent, but to my message. When I finished, the manager said, "That was inspiring. You spoke with heart." That compliment meant more than any job title. It was proof that I had crossed the bridge I once feared to step on. Fluency brought me something unexpected, a new identity. I started thinking differently, expressing emotions in new ways. English became not just a language, but a mirror, reflecting a more confident version of me. I began reading books like Atomic Habits and The Alchemist. I watched motivational speakers like Jay Shetty, Simon Sinek, and Les Brown. Their words didn't just teach me English, they taught me life lessons. I started journaling in English every night, not just about my day, but about my dreams. One day, I want to help millions of learners feel confident in English, just like I did. That dream became my next goal. One evening, I opened my YouTube channel and recorded a video titled, "How I Learned English in 5 Months, My Real Journey." It wasn't perfect. I was sitting on my bed with poor lighting and a shaky camera. But I spoke from my heart. I talked about my failures, my methods, and my turning points. I told viewers, if you want to learn English, you don't need talent. You need consistency. I hit upload and forgot about it. A week later, I checked. It had 50,000 views. Hundreds of comments flooded in. Your story gave me hope. I'm starting my own 5-month plan today. Thank you for showing us that it's possible. I cried that night, not because of fame, but because my story had become someone else's motivation. That's when I realized English was never just a language. It was a gift that could change lives. Today, English is part of my every moment. I wake up listening to English podcasts. I read one page of a book every morning. I talk to people around the world without fear. Even my dreams, sometimes, are in English. But I never forget where I started. That scared, shy person who couldn't say, "How are you?" without sweating. That memory keeps me humble. Because I know, if I could change, anyone can. If I could give just 5 lessons from my journey, they would be these. Don't wait for the perfect time. Start now. I kept waiting for confidence to appear before speaking, but it came after I started. Immerse yourself in the language. Change your environment. Phone, movies, music, everything into English. Let it surround you. Learn from real content, not only books. Watch shows, listen to stories, and learn from life. English is alive, not a set of rules. Speak even when you're not ready. The biggest secret to fluency is speaking through the fear. Be patient. English is not learned in one night, but one day it suddenly clicks. Confidence doesn't come from speaking perfectly. It comes from showing up every day. I made thousands of mistakes, mispronunciations, wrong tenses, awkward pauses. But every mistake became a step forward. And somewhere between those mistakes, I found my true voice. The same voice that once whispered, "You can't do it," now says every morning, "Let's inspire others today." My English Zone. After a year, I created a small community called the English Zone. It started with 20 people on WhatsApp, learners from Pakistan, India, Egypt, Indonesia, and Brazil. We practiced speaking daily, shared motivational messages, and celebrated small wins. That community now has over 50,000 members. People share stories of transformation, and many say, "Your journey started mine." Every time I read those messages, I feel the same emotion I felt the day I passed that interview: gratitude. Because English gave me more than communication. It gave me connection, purpose, and freedom. When I think of my 5-month journey, I see 5 chapters of my life. Month 1, fear and listening. Month 2, vocabulary and confidence. Month 3, speaking and courage. Month 4, breakthrough and growth. Month 5, transformation and power. Each month taught me something beyond English. It taught me resilience, patience, humility, and the power of small daily habits. If I had given up after that first failed interview, none of this would exist. So whenever someone asks, "How did you learn English so fast?" I smile and say, "I didn't learn it fast. I learned it consistently." If you are reading this and still struggling with English, I want you to know something very important. You're not bad at English. You're just in progress. Don't let anyone tell you it's impossible. Don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. Every person you admire today was once afraid to speak too. The real difference between fluent people and learners is not talent. It's persistence. So, speak even when you're scared. Read even when you don't understand everything. Keep going even when it feels slow. Because one day, without realizing it, you'll start thinking in English. You'll speak naturally. And you'll look back and say, "Wow, I did it." That day, you won't just be fluent in English. You'll be fluent in confidence, discipline, and self-belief. Even now, I still learn new words every week. Fluency isn't a finish line. It's a road that keeps going. But now I walk on that road proudly with gratitude. Because the person I became while learning English is stronger than the one who started. English didn't just change my language. It changed my life. It's been 5 months since the day I made that promise. I stand in front of the same wall where I wrote those words. I will learn English fluently in 5 months. The paper is still there, wrinkled, a little faded, but powerful. I smile, take a pen, and write below it, "I did it." Then, just beneath that line, I write one more thing. "Now it's your turn." Because my journey is not just mine anymore. It belongs to everyone who dares to dream, to fail, and to rise again.